everybody, and welcome back to BucsUK TV. It's always nicer after a victory. It's episode 88. Alex, you're a guest. You're a muggle this week, aren't you?
I am indeed. Yeah,
And,
great to be here.
we've got Marianna in our fan club as well, and David joining us also. So thank you. Before we start, obviously, we want to send out our thoughts to Damar Hamlin and all of the Buffalo Bills players. At the time of recording, this is Tuesday, and Damar's still in critical condition. So we're all hoping that manages to resolve itself. And as Alex posted earlier on our social media channels, some things are definitely bigger than football. So we certainly send our thoughts there. But let's turn to our usual chat. We're going to run through the results from the Panthers game, 30-24, and then we'll come on in the second half to preview the Falcons game. Alex, let's start with you. It was one of those games where it's pretty shaky as a Bucs fan, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. There was moments of genius and moments of incredible football which we've seen from this team, and then it sort of slipped back to New Year, same old Bucs. I think at some point Tom Brady remembered that he was the best quarterback in NFL history, and we saw the quarterback that we signed, and he was, particularly that fourth quarter in particular, he was absolutely outstanding. We really did play well in certain aspects of the game, but I think what was so frustrating is that we get ourselves back into it, and then we do something to throw it away. Like the blocked field goal or some ridiculous penalties from. The one that stands in my head is one from Joe Tryon. JTS, when it was almost like a horse collar. It wasn't. I don't think it was given, but it was that sort of thing. But to see, to get that win was great, and to see Brady throw those 400 yards, and Evans, of course, to hit that record, which I was personally absolutely thrilled to see him get. But as I say, we saw what this team's capable of, and maybe we're turning the corner just at the right time as well.
That's right. As we say, we've definitely got the playoffs beckoning, but we'll come on to talk about that. But Marianna, kind of from your perspective, let's start with the offense. As Alex has said, kind of we need to remember the GOAT is actually playing for us. A rating of 127. Our competition this week was who was going to score the first touchdown. Actually, it was there's a bit of Evans followed by a dose of Evans, and just in case you weren't quite sure, it was Evans to round off the game.
Yeah, I got to be super pleased with Evans' performance, I guess. He was just superb. Like, what I liked about it, I think in particular, is we've seen a couple of times this season a deep throw to Evans that hasn't worked. He's dropped. It's fallen short. It's not quite worked. And then we've not really done it again for the rest of the game. This game, the first attempt fell wrong. He didn't quite catch it.
Yeah.
But then instead of going away from that, we kept trying to get it to him. We kept trying to feed the ball to Evans, and he just showed his quality. And this time it paid off. But I was glad that we kept trying this time and not giving up on that deep ball, because we know Evans is a threat deep. And I just don't understand why other times we haven't tried it again. We've gone, oh, he's dropped it, that's it, and not repeated it. Unfortunately, the sort of downside, I guess, on the offense for me was the run game, which we didn't seem to get going at all. But at least we got a score late on when it counted. And actually, it was another thing that I'd said, I think, in a previous podcast, which was the quarterback sneak. We did a couple in this game, and they worked, both of them. We know Brady's one of the best at the quarterback sneak, so why we haven't been doing it as much was something that baffled me. And again, this time we tried a couple, and they both worked. So
he's the only one that gets a pass. His 3 carries for 4 yards wasn't far off the yards per carry. Actually, unfortunately, that Leonard and Rashad had either. I mean, David, obviously, we could point towards the running backs, but I think we're probably more likely to discuss the offensive line play, which felt, again, variable.
Yeah, but I think they did hold up when it mattered. There were a couple of sacks, but largely they did the job that was needed, so that was pleasing. I mean, you look at the whole game, and it was still a very similar formula to what we've seen from the Bucs for this season. Let an easy drive on our defense on the opening drive. Offense really struggled to get going again. And, you know, the run game, again, was constant in the middle, up the gut for 1-2 yards, or a loss of 3 or 4. There wasn't a lot of change until really Brady opened it up. And I just can't understand, you know, they were saying before the game that Byron had said to Brady they're going to let loose in this game. So why haven't they for the last 10 games of the season? I just don't understand it. I mean, we were lucky as well in that the system that Panthers put out, just marking Evans one-on-one against an inexperienced back. I mean, it helped us incredibly. But, I mean, Panthers played right into our hands, really, for that one. And we didn't. Again, we had that great pass in the end of the second quarter. But then it wasn't until fourth quarter, once again, that we came alive. And that just seems to be a consistent model. So fantastic that we got the win. Absolutely delighted, overjoyed. But we need to see more of it.
We do. I mean, Alex, as David has said, on the one hand, why have the coaches suddenly opened the playbook up? And on the other hand, it's only late in the game that we seem to be coming alive. What is it, do you think, maybe that's sort of behind the inconsistency? Or, because that's what we're looking ahead. That's probably going to be a key factor, isn't it? Is to how far the Bucs go is going to be how consistent they are.
Well, absolutely. I mean, but one thing to say is that obviously we know the playoffs are, completely separate to the season, so to speak. The form book goes out the window. In terms of your question, though, I mean, we're just purely guessing here, aren't we? We've all, I've asked the same question that you've asked to people on this pod as well. Then, it could be coaching. We don't, that's one thing that is said. So a lot of injuries have had a big impact as well. There are many factors that could be playing into this, and then, we're purely guessing here. We all know that the coaching is certainly very different to when Bruce Arians was head coach. Everyone's had questions over Byron Leftwich since he became offensive coordinator. We think that it seems to get better when Tom Brady has more of an impact on the play calling. That's something that's been spoken about as well. But it is just purely guesswork on it.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move to the defensive side of the ball. Normally the metric I like to look at, and indeed it's the one we have in our ultimate prediction competition, which is rapidly drawing to a close on the forum. And I often look towards tackles. This week, the Panthers had 76 tackles to the Bucs 50. Now, first thing you glance, you think, well, that's not good. Only 50 tackles, but that's because they were getting off the field. And Marianna, I think we also had some turnovers, which I had to look up the word turnover when it happened. I wasn't quite sure. It's starting to become a bit of a foreign thing, but it felt like the D put together a relatively complete game, didn't it?
Yeah, the first drive. First couple of drives to the Panthers, we almost focused a little bit too much. We know they're a run-heavy team, and it felt like we were focusing probably slightly too much on trying to stuff the run. I think I said it anyway at some point, is that, yes, it would be key that we had to stop their run. And they only got themselves about 70-odd yards, I think, between Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, who have been both superb for the past few weeks for them. So I think they had a chance to, because we were so focused on that run stuffing, that they had a chance to get behind us, obviously, and get Darnold, to his credit, through quite well. And we let them through, on a couple of deep balls to DJ Moore quite easily. But we seemed to make some sort of adjustment after that, and we did eventually, as you say, sort of stop them. And the really key thing, again, as you say, is the turnovers. Vita Vea athletically
Oh, what
jumping on.
start.
Great to see.
It reminded me of the hippopotamuses in Fantasia.
It was Nelson's work forcing the fumble, I think. And he has been quietly very good all year, I think. So he forced it, but yeah, Vaya jumping on it was glorious. And Sean Murphy-Bunting coming up with an interception as well. So as you say, a complete game with a slight adjustment to sort of not give them so much stuff deep after we gave up a couple of easy touchdowns for them.
I think just to add in there though, I think I agree with what Marianna what you said on the adjustments to stop them going deep, but I think for me what was frustrating defensively is particularly the first drive. And Gary says this an awful lot, and I since he's been saying it, I've been watching the games. I can see it very clearly now. One thing we weren't doing to start off with is challenging at the point of the catch. And you saw that particularly in the first drive. They were making that first drive for them was so easy. It was almost so the defense just stay on the sideline. But so going back briefly to what I said at the very start, there were times in that game where we were just showing exactly what we'd be doing, all the way through the season, where we've just been soft. And then suddenly, when the defense seems to wake up, which is great when it does, we see we see the defense that we've come to love and know under Todd Bowles. Yes, he's not DC anymore, but we see that aggressiveness. We see the interceptions, we see the row in the boat, and we just haven't seen as much of that this season.
I think the one thing I'd like to spend some time talking about, and David, we'll start with you, but open it up. The enigma that is Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I mean, he was the leading solo tackles on the day. He had 7 solo tackles. He had a QB hit. But on the forum, it felt like our members were giving him a hard time.
I was really just going to dive in there. And I think you look at it, the reason I think we've picked up before, when you've got a quarterback that sticks between the marks in the pocket, then he's too deep, he's outside, he never gets there. And certainly in that first drive, in that early couple of drives, Donald wasn't moving out of the pocket. He was just firing it down the middle. We weren't getting close. The minute he got flushed and moved outside the marks, then that's when JTS comes alive. And the number of times we chased him around in the backfield and he managed to get the ball off or just throw it away, that's when he comes into his own. And I think, we probably have to accept that's the style of player he is. And he needs to be complementary to the other backs we've got.
It's almost like improvisational sort of style, isn't it? That's when he's better, when everything breaks down, like you say. Alex, I mean, he's in his second year now. I think we all gave him a pass last year, not least because there was, Sue and JCPP and other people knocking around. But, where are you grading him? Is he on the bubble next year?
See, I've got when you ask this question, I've got to get JPP and Sue out of my head and remember he's a different player and a lot younger because to them obviously he's nowhere near that level, but he's certainly getting better. As David said, that when the quarterback is out the pocket, I mean he's one scary dude. His speed is quite something off the edge. I mean, in terms of grade, do you want a letter grade? Where do you want me to go with this? Would you like a letter?
Whatever you think.
I mean,
it's up to you. Or do you think, if you're the player personnel person next year, how close to you, to the cut do you think he is? Because he's a starter.
He's nowhere near the cut. He's absolutely nowhere near the cut. No, he because he's shown how dangerous he can be. And when we get that pressure up the middle, with Vita Vea and Will Golston and oh my word, his name's gone.
Nelson?
No, the other one. Defensive line.
Hicks.
Thank you. Yes, Hicks. Thank you. Sorry, his name completely escaped my head. When those three get that penetration, and it gives JTS that space to getting around the edge and flush the quarterback out, it forces the quarterback to panic and to make the plays that we saw yesterday. So he is without doubt a really important asset to our team in terms of the speed that Todd Bowles loves to use with the outside linebackers. So he's definitely nowhere near the cut. He's only going to get better. I think we've seen that this season. Yes, he's given away penalties. Find me a player that's not giving away a penalty. Yes, he's made mistakes. Find me a player that's not made mistakes. But he's definitely he's a really good player to have on this team.
I think what's noticeable is in past seasons, we've seen the likes of Devin White and Trillespin David flying out and making no tackles. They haven't done that so much this year when the quarterback's come out of pocket because he's got there first.
Let's not forget as well. We're saying that last year, and we're trying to put them out of our head, JPP and Sue. But at the same time, JTS, second year, yes, but still second year. So still learning the game. And sometimes it takes 3-4 years to really hit that prime spot. Also, I think what plays in heavily into him maybe struggling a little bit at being as good as he could be is not having Shaq Barrett and Shaq Barrett being out injured, because you have Shaq Barrett as well playing on the line, and you've got more experience, someone to, I'm sure they talk, I'm sure he gives him advice, but there's one thing having advice, there's another thing, the offensive line of Carolina or whoever we're playing, having Shaq Barrett coming from one side and JTS coming from the other. And maybe that makes a difference to how JTS plays. Maybe he isn't then trying to force being that. I think he tries to force being that person, getting to the quarterback every time. And you don't have to if you've got that player coming from the other side like Shaq Barrett would.
Yep.
So I don't want to judge him based on simply he's not been as good this year because he's played most of the season without having that experienced Shaq Barrett on the other side.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point, I think. Okay, well, so the jury's still out, I think.
Sound convinced there.
We're pretty supportive, I think, on the whole. Well, no, I think it's interesting. So I think the pressure's on you guys at home. If you think he's not the case, then you need to tell us why. Down in the comments below, whilst you're pressing the bell and the thumbs up and all the likey stuff, and tell us on the forum as well. Because quite frankly, this is the foundings of the JTS fan club, it seems. So we'll move on to special teams, the fan club that I am the founding member of.
Kieron, do you want me to host this section and let you do the talking on this one?
No, because it'll be like Jerry Springer. I'll just do a monologue. Look after yourself and take care of each other. You can start, Alex. Tell us the good and the bad. I mean,
good and the bad.
Okay, like everything, it was interesting.
Interesting is probably the nice way to put it. First of all, I want to say Jake Kamada is a punt god. I want to put that out there right now. I've never been, a massive fan of punters, shall we say. Don't really look at them, in a huge way. But this guy has just been, even brilliant. Think about that. I think it was the fourth quarter, wasn't it, where the muffed snap came in, and to save that, and not only avoid the huge loss of yards, but also to take time off the clock as well. Yeah. Now, whether he did that intentionally or not, or as in his game IQ was there, that he knew that would happen, I don't care. I still thought it was absolutely brilliant. So that, Jake Kamada, I think we can all say he's been absolutely brilliant since he's coming.
Just want to correct you. I can't let it lie. It wasn't a muffed snap. It was a low
snap.
A
low snap.
It wasn't Kamada's fault. It was on the
you.
Long snapper, Zach Triner. But even then, I give him a pass because I think it looked like he was going to have the entire world on his neck a nanosecond after he snapped that ball.
Yes.
They were coming hard.
I think. So
yeah, and if it wasn't for was it Keith who was the one who was downfield?
It was. Yes.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, he is a rookie. That's a rookie mistake. Everyone knows. You listen for the bang. If you don't hear the ball going, you're not releasing downfield.
No.
Because something else has happened. But yeah, no. That was an awesome play. Okay, that was good. That was
the good. Yes, the bad. Right. Where should I start? Kickoff and punt returns. Don't recall seeing much to that. Field goals. I mean, why we, look, Ryan Suckup is great from within 50 yards. 50 plus yards, I think it was our very own Tim Lewis. I think he put on WhatsApp. I think it was it? He's had something like 8 kicks from 50+ yards and made 3 or something like that. I can't remember the exact figure. So not a great record there. We know how good he is. As I say, we know how good he is within 50. And then the fact then we're getting kicks blocked as well, which that will change the game again completely. Little things like that. So I think a mixed bag from special teams, maybe a slightly more negative than mixed, I think, on this occasion.
Okay.
But thank God for Jake Kamada. That's all. That's what I'll say on that.
Fair enough. So Marianna, then let's put you on the spot then. So Alex had to defend JTS. You're going to defend Ryan Suckup for us. How close is Ryan Suckup to the bubble? Because kickers are 2 a penny and they're cheap.
They are. He's, as Alex pointed out, move him a bit closer, and he's a lot more accurate.
His contacts. He can't focus from that far away.
I think we've got competition. We can always bring competition in.
Mm.
I would certainly be looking over my shoulder if I was him. As you say, kickers they're just easily available. And yeah, I could see him potentially being on the bubble there.
David, David, history tells us that you cut a Bucs kicker at your peril.
It's true. We've not had a lot of luck with them.
I mean, in fairness, it's BucsUK's fault because last week we all were quite clear, and we said it in the podcast last week. Within 50 yards is the money, no problem at all. Take it away. Over 50 yards, then don't even go there because he hasn't got the leg. I'm just pleased that he made the mistakes or he missed the kicks when ultimately it didn't matter. Get them out of the way and move forward. Yeah, there's kickers about. They're cheap, but there's not a lot of consistency with them. Kickers in the last 4 or 5 years in the league have been a bit of a nightmare all over the league. So, I think it was difficult this week. I mean, he really missed a big field goal after that huge drive when it got blocked. Part of that is coaching because actually they'd already come quite close to that earlier attempts. And I think we should have sort of made a note of that already and done something about that before that got blocked. So that was disappointing. I mean, the missed extra point, that could have really landed us in it. That put us in a very vulnerable position until, thankfully, we got the turnover straight after. But let's hope that essentially is a one-off. Under 50, leave him to it. Over 50, let's not even go there. I mean, it might be worth even seeing Kamada.
I mean, that's good life advice anyway, isn't it? I mean, over 50, just don't go there.
Over 50, take about 5 delay of games, move us back and let Kamada punt it or something. I don't know.
Or go for it.
I mean, it's just on sort of go for it. We had that moment, didn't we? It was the first half where we were so close to the end zone. We'd had that great drive, and what were we? 3rd and 1? I think it was something like 4th and 1, and we went for the field goal. Now I get why Todd Bowles has done it because if you go in at 14-10 compared to 14-7, it's a different mindset. But then a part of me was looking back to when we had Bruce Arians, and he'd have gone for it. But it's a tricky one, that one, isn't it? But
yeah, I think it's it's again, the podcast is repeat the same thing every week. We are still terrible at short yardage, and there seems no variation in it. It is still run, 2 and short, 3 and short. We don't seem to ever try anything different. I mean, we had jet screens going out down the pitch. Why are we not trying something like that when we're in short yardage positions? There just seems to be no variation in what we try to do on them. And yeah, I mean, our red zone offense again was terrible. Thank God Tom Brady could still throw 60 yards because when we got down there, we weren't making him again. I mean, we missed the first 2-pointer. Thankfully, we made the second one, but we need to shake that up. Perhaps they're just holding that playbook back for the playoffs.
We do. We just need to make sure we never get into the red zone. Yeah, the commentators were like, "What's
Missed
the
that.
cannon firing for?" It's like, "Because we're in the red zone. Come on,
Yeah.
people." Honestly, they've never been to a Bucs game before. But it was so there was lots of things between the running game, the JTS, the kicking game, lots of things to talk about, and it was a bumper night on our forum. For those of you watching that don't know, on our website BucsUK.org, we have our own discussion board. Just click on the forum button. Anyone can sign up. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to be in the UK. Anyone can join us and chat during the game. And actually, this game, our discussion board's been going since 2009, and the forum game thread was the 8th largest thread we've ever had on the forum. It was mad. So people were definitely having their say, and you're more than welcome to join in. Alex has very kindly curated, shall we say, some of the finer comments that we saw on the forum, and we'll run through those now. So first of all, Amanda McCrory and Adam McTaggart, who were out there watching the game. A typical start, giving the Panthers an easy score, but then as the game went on, the offense really got going. Amazing to see the Brady and Evans connection back on track. What a game that they both had. Atmosphere was electric in the stadium. I can imagine. It was. I think it's probably going to be a very different atmosphere next week when we get down to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Phil's telling me he's been having emails saying it's buy one get one free on tickets for them. Then we had Andy Harwood. To see Mike get the 1,000 yards with that amazing catch and TD, we didn't even touch on that really meant that much. Was everything you want to for such a tremendous record. He did it in style and continued on to his best game of the season with 3 long touchdown catches and continuously moving the chains. What a game! What a player! Yeah, I think Andy's in the fan club there. All hail Jake Kamada, says John Zinkus. I think we agree with that. And then finally from Alex Howells, undefeated in 2023. Let that sink in. I mean, I'm not sure how long that trend's going to run for, but undefeated in 2023 and division champions, neither of which looked very likely an hour ago. I'll tell you what, though, if we were anyone else, I wouldn't want to play us in the playoffs. We're so unpredictable. If you catch us on the wrong day, we could destroy teams. We could also lose 50-0. This is the fate of being a Buccaneers fan. Before we come on to explore that in a bit more detail, we also had one of our prize competitions running on the forum, and it was you had to guess which Buccaneer was going to be the first player to score for the Bucs a touchdown. Unsurprisingly, a few people went for Mike Evans. They must have some sort of psychic connection in some shape or form. So we've put all of those people on our wheel of names. We will spin the wheel now and see who is our prize winner. Okay, people. So lots of names on the wheel. If you can see yourself, the very best of luck to you. Here we go. Chris Jones sneaking in there with the winner. Chris, that's a Jaeger bomb you owe me. I think you'll realise. Chris is one of my largest co-conspirators when it comes to the Bucs watch parties. He leads the drinking in the north, so he'll be delighted with his prizes, I am sure. And now we can move on then to think about the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons are a mediocre 6-10 to the Bucs' 8-8. There's not that much in it, but it seems to be lies and damn statistics seem to be the difference, because on paper these teams look like they've had very different fortunes as the season's gone on. Maybe Marianna, if we start with you, kind of what are the keys for the Bucs in this game, and how much does it really matter?
It does matter. One of the key things to me is probably actually not resting players, or certainly not resting players too early. The likelihood is, I think we're going to go straight into the playoff games. So the tendency is to want to rest the players. I think we need all the game time we can have. We all know that we've looked a bit off timing-wise, really, until this week with, as you say, with Evans and Brady. But in general, Brady has just looked what is probably milliseconds off, but it counts. So I would like to definitely not see us just essentially resting all the players ready for the playoffs, because I think we need the additional game time. I don't think Atlanta are going to go out and try to do much realistically. It's a bit of a pointless game for them. Not to say that they're going to throw it away, but I just don't see how much fight they're going to have in them. The key for me is probably stopping the connection at the moment between Ridder and London, isn't it? Drake London. He's kind of come alive in the past 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
Got some sort of chemistry really growing with Ridder, so that would probably be about the key to my game. But I don't see that. This is one that I feel confident going into, or at least.
Careful.
I know.
David, do you agree? Does this game matter?
Well, statistically, it doesn't matter because we're in the playoffs, and that's the most important thing. I think it still matter to everybody. I mean, they still put up a good performance last week, didn't they, against Cardinals? Getting a
Anyone
win there.
can beat the Cardinals.
Well, yeah, just. And again, they just did it.
Yeah.
So, I think they've got something like the 3rd best run game in the league.
They are 3rd in the run, and we are 32nd in the run, but we are 2nd in the pass, and they are 31st in the pass.
Yeah.
This could be the most lopsided game in NFL history.
It's going to be crazy, but I think, definitely offensively, I think it's just working on that rhythm again, just as you said, Marianna. I think what we can't afford to do on offense is get any more injuries to the line. And hopefully, who knows, Ryan Jensen might be on his way back shortly. Defensively, everybody else is coming back from fitness now. And I think this week it's all about, let's get the win. Let's try and get a bit of passing going and build on that. But let's just not pick up any more injuries. We just need to get out of that game in a fit position, ready for the playoffs.
So let's assume...
Yeah, we always want to win a divisional game.
Let's assume it's 14-0 at half-time. Are you resting players?
Maybe in the 3rd quarter, sometime during the 3rd quarter, perhaps. Do we see our first view of Trask?
Oh, Kyle Trask to finish round the season off. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? It would mean you'd need 3 quarterbacks on there, because if Brady goes down or is injured, I want Gabbert out if it still counts for anything.
Hasn't Gabbert joined Baywatch now?
Could be. Okay, and Alex, what do you think? What is this game going to hinge on?
I think it hinges on our defense, to be honest with you, because we know that we are vulnerable on defense. We saw that against Carolina. What was the stat you gave a moment ago, Kim? What are Atlanta on the pass again?
So Atlanta are 31st on passing offense, but 3rd on running.
They'll be given what we're like against passing offense. I think they'll be 1st by the end of next week, to be honest with you. And
it is technically a backup quarterback. We're given that Mariota started.
Well, in that case, we are completely messed up. I've got to keep watching. I can't say a ruder word than that. We make backup quarterbacks like they should be in the Hall of Fame. But we need the soft coverage, which keeps getting called. I don't know why soft coverage even exists, because it's the most frustrating thing for me on defense ever. And we've seen us just go to pieces whenever we go to soft coverage. Quarterbacks just throw it underneath and boom, they're moving 10, 15 yards down the field each time. So I just want to see us, I agree with what David and Marianna have said, the points they've made. Just to add on to it, I just want to see us being more aggressive again on defense. Go back to what we were doing. Why that's changed or seems to have changed, I don't know. We know how good this defense is. Yes, there's been personnel changes, but this defense has shown, even against Carolina, it showed it's still got what it had last season. I just want to see more of that again.
Yeah, all good points. I think for me, the Atlanta defense is 29th in the NFL, whereas our D's 8th. Our offense is 11th in the NFL, and I think people are overlooking that. The Atlanta offense is to 25th in the NFL. This should be a very lopsided game. I would love to have us lock it up by halftime and start resting people. And do you know what? Even if we're losing, if we're losing 14-0 at halftime, I still rest people in the third quarter. I think there's something about, like you were saying, Marianna, about keeping yourself in momentum, keeping yourself match fit, keeping yourself focused. But we don't want to get anybody injured.
No, I mean, I'd go back. I would sort of the offense, although we're sort of highly ranked offense, it is back to let's try and create red zone offense, try and build on that and get something there. And I think special teams, we haven't really touched it, but just get suck up kicking again.
It feels like this could be the perfect game to go into the playoffs off the back of, because it really could be a real momentum builder. It could be that game that we come out and have finally a really big, clear win. I'm slightly worried if we do make it hard work again, but if we get that big win to then go into the playoffs off the back of a really solid 4 quarters, full game performance, good on offense, good on D, would be lovely.
Yeah, when the Bucs came up with that marketing phrase, "It's a Bucs life," they didn't know how accurate they really were. I don't think they quite meant it in the way we tend to use it, but it's true. We'll come on to talk about a little bit about playoff permutations and things, but before then, just in terms of your score predictions, how you think this is going to go. Alex, we'll come to you first. What's the scoreboard going to be at the end?
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be high scoring. I'm sorry to say, Marianna, I think we are going to make hard work of it again, because that's what we've been doing all season. I think Atlanta are going to put points on the board because we are vulnerable. We've shown that as well this season. But I also, you were saying about a momentum shifter. I'd like to think that fourth quarter and the Brady and Evans connection is now back. I'd like to think that we are going to see more of that. So I'm going to go 28-24 to the Bucs.
Okay, Bucs win over there. David?
I'm going for the Bucs 33-13.
Ooh, that's a bit more dominant.
Yeah, I think build on
that
it.
Might be one of those. What do they call it? NFL lingo or something, where it's like a unique score, like a sort of NFL Google whack or something. There's a Twitter account, isn't there? 33-13. I don't think I've seen that one come up before.
Scoregami, I think, something like that.
Scoregami, that's
something like that. I think it is. Yeah.
Marianna?
I'm going to go for a big win, but I think, as you guys have sort of pointed out, we'll probably rest players second half, third quarter, fourth quarter, maybe. So probably not a huge score, but a solid win. I'll go 35-3. They're going to get nothing.
Ooh,
nice.
I love that. So that's the opposite of my prediction.
I mean, but we haven't failed to score less than 30 points this year.
There you go. See, 2023 is good for something. So I'm going to be the doom-monger amongst us all. I'm saying it's 35-28 to the Falcons. I think we're probably 21-3 up or something like that. Or 21-7 up or something. I think everyone goes off to the bench. I think we come out and bring all the reserves on, and I think the Falcons start playing at that point, partly because it's against our backups and we haven't got the best depth in the world. But you've got to remember, this is the final game of the regular season for these guys. This is the last game that these players have the chance to try and secure a roster spot for next year. So this is a professional league. They want the win, but they're also playing for their own personal survival. So I think there's lots that the Falcons will want to try and show. I think they know they're at home as well. I think they want to try and play for their fans, the faithful people that are still turning up by the end of the year. I hope I'm wrong, but I think the Bucs are nothing if not consistent in their inconsistency. And so I'm hoping, in a sort of stock market line fashion, that we suck this game, meaning that we're going to be fantastic going into the playoff game. So that's my mathematical sanity. I'm sure you'll all agree. It all checks out.
I do think there's going to be a lot of Bucs fans in that stadium.
Definitely.
Well, we know Atlanta has. I can't remember what they're called now, but there's an Atlanta Bucs chapter, isn't there?
Yeah.
The Bucs Invasion, I think they were originally called. I think they might have changed their name recently. But we know that there's lots and lots of Bucs fans all across Georgia. So we look forward to seeing them in place. So finally, then, just very, very quickly as a straw poll, we think we're gonna be at home, which is great. It's a Raymond James, and we think it's either going to be the Eagles or the Cowboys. Kind of, who do you think it's going to be, and who would you like it to be, and are they the same team? David, we'll start with you.
I think Cowboys and Cowboys.
Yeah. So you think it's going to be the Cowboys? You'd like it to be the Cowboys, Marianna?
I think I'm with David. I think Cowboys and Cowboys at the moment.
Yeah. Alex?
Yep, same for me. Yep, think it's Cowboys. Rather play the Cowboys.
We've already done them once this year. Nothing to hide there. We know what's going to be coming our way.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll all be able to join us as well next week when we elaborate slightly more on that when we know who we are playing. Thankfully this week it's a 1 p.m. kickoff, so it's 6 p.m. for us in the UK. So finally something sensible. We know we don't like playing in prime time, so this should bode well. Thank you guys for coming along and joining us. Thank you guys at home for watching. We will see you next week, and as ever, go Bucs!
Go Bucs!
Go Bucs!